Yo, it's Mac from the Everyday Nobody's podcast. I know you see the title, so let's get straight to it. I can see it already. Joe Budden is about to start kicking people off the pod. See, it started with Jay Wan, which is Jadakiss' son. He was supposed to be like the young ears and the young mouthpiece, basically to speak to all the old heads. Instead, he kind of came in with the stupid Nepo baby energy that my dad's super rich, but I'm still gangster. He went to Cranbrook. That's a private school. Like, he was on that. Like, super tough, right? Now, Jay Wan claims he didn't get fired. That was just a short-term contract. He's busy. He has stuff to do. They just part ways amicably. It could have been amicably, but I don't think they just parted ways. And I don't believe that contract thing for a second. But I don't know.
Contract legit was from October to January. Like, we negotiated it that way. I told y'all from the jump, Joe wanted me to pod. I didn't want to be on the pod. So that was one of those, like, a trial period. Like, yo, just come up there, see how you like it. Like, Joe was planning on giving me my own pod on the network.
I've just never heard of anybody doing a short-term contract, especially for somebody who wasn't that impactful. It seemed like it was a trial run. Your trial was up. It didn't work. That's what I got from it. I feel like Joe, he saw how he was crashing out on spaces. The audience wasn't receiving him, and he got rid of him. It's basically, Joe will take so much. Like, if you're going to be disruptive, you got at least got to be dynamic. You at least got to bring something to the table to make people want to watch. And I don't think that was Jay Wan. But speaking of dynamic, Flip. I'm keeping an eye on Flip too, because he may be next on the chopping block. Because if you remember, Flip and Joe, they used to always negotiate on air. And it was really Flip initiating it, but whatever, Joe's game, right? So they would negotiate. And Joe made it very clear that Flip is not going to be here that often because he's going to be doing improper improv. And he's trying to give him his space, but still let him be on the network. And as we all know, improper improv only lasted 4 episodes. That crashed and it burned. So now Queen's Flip is back on the pod just like he never left. That just tells me that, okay, they were trying to branch out. They were trying to do the streaming to bring in another source of revenue. Queen's Flip wasn't that good there. And honestly, he's not that good on the pod. He's just really loud and he'll bust out in song. But to me, he doesn't bring that much value anymore. He used to be very dynamic, but now he's kind of buffoonish. But whatever. I'm keeping my eye on him, though. Just know I'm watching. Then we get to, oh, you can't give me grace, Imani.
You can't show me grace. I'm telling you. You can't. Oh.
I'm keeping my eye on him, too, because I'm pretty sure he's on his last leg also. And for him, it's not really good to be on his last leg because it's like, on one hand, you're Joe's friend. He loves you, right? On the other hand, he don't even let you on the regular pod. You're only on Patreon episodes, so you should probably tread lightly because you're not even valuable enough to be on the other pod. So I would tread lightly. But I'm keeping an eye on it. See, where Imani messed up, he decided to go on one of Flip's streams and he put hands on one of Flip's employees. Not a good look. Not a good look for Joe because it looks like he's running some raggedy shit. But it's also not a good look because Imani's already in trouble. See, if you go back, you remember like months ago, Imani got in trouble for putting hands on a dude outside of a bar. He said the guy was saying racial slurs to 2 black women. He didn't like that. He went outside. He put hands on them. He's going to court for that. So let's really think about it. If I'm going to court, the last thing a judge needs to see is me putting hands on somebody else because now you look like a lunatic. And then they already had the episode where they were talking about how, I guess he had low testosterone or something. So he's impulsive. And he kind of leaned into it, but it seems like dude has a little bit of a screw loose. So that's perfect for somebody who's trying to sue him. It's perfect for somebody who's trying to get him locked up. That's not what you should be doing if you know you got to go to court and you know you already assaulted somebody. You know, he tried to piece it up with dude that he put hands on at Flip Stream, you know, and he basically apologized and he spoke about how embarrassed he is because he's damn near 40, still acting like this, and he didn't want his kids to see it, blah, 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 blah. But the cake been baked. You already did what you did, so, you know, whatever happens, happens.
See, even right now when I'm doing this, I'm not doing this for no response or for no content, Woody. Like, I'm really not. I'm doing this because for me, when I left out of there, that to me misrepresented who I want to be looked at as an entertainer. That's not a part of me being an entertainer. It's like, I know that I'm a man with a temper problem that I need to honestly work on because that was just a bad representation of myself. It's a bad representation of why I was even there. I was there solely to support my man.
So for a couple episodes, Imani, he was absent. He didn't show up. He just popped up again this week. So clearly it was just a suspension, which is cool for now. But I'm going to keep my eye on this situation because I'm pretty sure this is not what Joe had in mind. Last but not least, I'm watching Mel because she's on the chopping block too. And if we're going to be honest, rightfully so. See, the last couple episodes, Mel has been showing her ass. And she's really starting to rub people wrong. She didn't piss Joe off. She didn't piss Ish off. She didn't piss Flip off. Like, she's really wilding out. So I would be careful. See, it all started with this conversation about wasting your partner's time. See, Mel, she claims that she's never told a man that he wasted her time. She's never felt that way. Blase, blase. Everybody in the room was like, you know we record this pod. You've definitely told a man that he's wasted your time. And she argued and argued and argued. And then they said, okay, what about the guy that you were dating who was overseas and he dipped on you and y'all was together for years and he had a stable back overseas in the UK or wherever he was from. You were mad because he wasted your time. And then she admitted to it, but then she was still trying to argue. Long story short, she tried to be bold and act like nobody could ever hurt her like that, to where she would say, oh, you're wasting my time. But she did do that. That actually did happen. It's just she didn't think that people remembered. Then she got all butthurt. She didn't want to talk on the next episode. She was just in her feelings because she got called out. When all you had to do was just say, yeah, it hurt my feelings. Everybody will understand that. But for some reason, she was just, I don't know, she was on her high horse that day. So now there's just this lingering tension. She don't want to talk on the pod. Even Joe had to point it out like, hey, you're employed to speak, so you need to talk. Now, most people thought that would be the end, but she came in the next episode on some bullshit again. She had a chip on her shoulder. Basically, she was like, I'm going on the offense, and she starts the episode off by kicking Flip's back in because Flip wasn't in the room. I don't know where he was at, but he wasn't there yet. And she was like, basically saying, why do you let him do whatever he wants to do? And Joe had to explain to her, he has a different contract from y'all. He negotiated differently so he can move like this, and it's allowed. It's rubbing people the wrong way because Flip comes back and he had to confront her. He was like, yo, why are you even worried about what's going on in my business? Not to mention, you've done this before. You asked me what's in my contract. So Flip is trying to figure out, like, what is her angle? Why is she so concerned with Flip and Joe's relationship and Flip's contract? And why does it seem like she wants to basically be treated like Flip when they didn't negotiate the same thing? And if, like I said, he was supposed to be doing improv, so he was never supposed to be there that much anyway. But for whatever reason, Mel wants to point this out, and she got called out for it. So then it gets even more heated because Ish is like, wait a minute. You shoot Lifetime movies. You go away, but you still get paid. And nobody says a thing. Nobody says, well, how come when she's gone, she gets paid, but the rest of us don't? Everybody minded their business. So you need to mind yours. And that went crazy. They got to really going at it.
I think it's hating. I think it's nasty.
Yo, you
It's
definitely
period.
hate.
I think it's hating nasty. And I think it's funny. I think it's fly. I have no problem with it because I'm going to still do whatever I want to do. But at the same time, for you to highlight it, what are you highlighting that
You know
for?
how I know? You know how you don't
What's-
hate? Because if she was doing the same thing and nobody said, there wouldn't be a conversation.
No, Mel.
And I wouldn't even.
Now, I do think Ish probably, he didn't need to go that hard, but he did tell the truth. He definitely told the truth. And Ish, Mel was just being a Karen, and she didn't want to take no accountability, and Ish had to put her in her place. Then to add fuel to the fire, everybody knows Drake, Give Me a Hug. On the album with Party Next Door, he dissed Joe. He said, Melissa Ford, you're a legend from the 6. Hate to see you sitting next to a dick sucker. Offensive. Joe didn't take the bait, though. He was just like, yeah, I heard it. I feel like he took the same approach that he took when Drake dropped that long Instagram post disrespecting him. And then Drake puts out that deluxe to For All the Dogs, and it was just a bunch of rapidy rap. And Joe was like, I just won't respond to it, and we'll see how much it sells. I think that's the same approach. When Drake called him a dick sucker, he hardly even acknowledged it. Like, he basically made fun of it. He did not care. I think that's the same approach. And it was smart because, one, every time Drake talks about Joe makes money, and it doesn't hurt him none. It just gives him more to talk about. So I thought it was a good move. Now, the problem is Mel has been using that she's been using that song, like you hear it in the background of some of her videos, blase blase. Now, I'm sure Joe doesn't care. I'm sure it's not a big deal. My only thing with it is I'm keeping an eye on the relationship because this is the same woman who she called Flip disloyal because she lied on Cameron. She basically tried to call Cameron, I don't even want to say the word, but she tried to call him something nefarious. Let's just say that. Cameron checked her. He had the jeans with her face in the crotch area. Y'all remember that? He checked her about that. And Flip, he's cool with Cam. And he happened, on that pod, he happened to have socks with Cam's face on it. And she had the nerve to say, well, y'all didn't take my side when Cam was going off on me, even though she was dead wrong. Like the stuff she tried to put on Cam and Mace, she was foul. But it's fine. And then you also got to remember that one time she lied on Eddie Griffin. She said like there was at some poker party or something, and Eddie Griffin pulled up with 2 Rottweilers. And it turned out that was actually Cat Williams. But Eddie Griffin was like, why is she even bring my name up? So he goes off on her.
Yeah, this fun about I got 2 German Shepherds. I ain't never owned a German Shepherds.
And of course, you know, the guys, they thought it was funny. It was like, you know, it's a comedian being a comedian, and you was wrong. You lied on him. And she felt like they should have took her side again. So now when the tables are turned and Drake is calling Joe a dick sucker, shouldn't you be the loyalty? Shouldn't you give the same energy that you want from everybody else? That's what I would think. Or maybe she just knows Joe not going to take it seriously. All I know is I'm watching Mel 2. I'm keeping my eye on that situation because I think somebody getting fired soon. But what do I know? I'm just an everyday nobody. Tell me what you think in the comments. 1, is Mel about to carry herself out of a job? 2, is Flip about to stream himself out of a job? 3, Kenny Manny give grace? We'll see. Let me know in the comments, like, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.